You're welcome again to my series of videos on Revelation and the end times. And today we're going to look at part 2 of the identity of the beast decoded. My name again is Ben Awoseyila. I'm the lead pastor of Healing Springs Church in Basingstoke, United Kingdom. Just to remind you again that this series of videos on Revelation and the end times are based on my 2 books on Revelation and the end times. The first book is subtitled Don't Be Left Behind, and this covers Revelation chapters 1 to 9. The second book is subtitled Don't Worship the Beast, and this covers Revelation chapters 10 to 22. These 2 books are available on Amazon website, so you can order your copy either as a print copy in paper or as an electronic copy in Kindle. All you need to do is go to Amazon and type in my name, Ben Awoseyila, and search, and then you find these books easily. I'd like to encourage you to get these books. They will be a great blessing to your life. So now let's go back to the topic, and we're looking at the identity of the beast decoded. In part 1 of this video, we identified the beast, that is the beast from the sea and the beast from the earth, and we established their spiritual identities. Now, today's video is focused on the ethnic identities of the beasts. So which nation produces the antichrist beast and which nation produces the false prophet. So we go straight to the first part, which is the beast from the sea, and that is the antichrist beast. We read from Revelation chapter 13 verse 1. It says, "Then I stood on the sand of the sea, and I saw a beast rising up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and on his horns 10 crowns, and on his heads a blasphemous name." As we said in the first video on this topic, the beast from the sea is the evil supernatural being that will rule directly over the political systems of this world during the Great Tribulation. Now let's move on. And in order to establish the ethnic identity of this beast, we need to look at the characteristics of the beast as defined in Revelation 13. In particular, we focus on verses 2 to 7. We summarize these characteristics as I read. It says, "Now the beast which I saw was like a leopard." That's the first characteristic. Secondly, it says, "He opened his mouth in blasphemy against God." And that's another key characteristic. And thirdly, it says, "It was granted to him to make war with the saints and to overcome them." So from Revelation chapter 13, verses 2 to 7, we can establish 3 key characteristics of this beast. The beast is like a leopard. The beast is blasphemous. And the beast persecutes the saints. So keep this in mind as we move on in our journey to identify the ethnicity of the beast. Firstly, we examine the beast like a leopard. And in order to examine this, we have to go back to the book of Daniel. And in chapter 7, Daniel talks about a vision he had of 4 beasts rising from the great sea. And the third of this beast is defined in Daniel chapter 7, verse 6. It says, "After this I looked, and there was another like a leopard, which had on his back 4 wings of a bird. The beast also had 4 heads, and dominion was given to it." So the beast like a leopard, as defined in Daniel 7, when we compare Daniel 7 to Daniel chapter 2 and Daniel chapter 8, it is easy to identify that the beast like a leopard is referring to the old Greek Empire. The beast like a leopard rises from the nation of Greece. Okay, let's move on. And we want to examine the other 2 characteristics of the beast, the blasphemy and the the fierce persecution of the saints. Firstly, we go back and look at this beast like a leopard in more detail. And we can find this detail in Daniel chapter 8. In particular, we look at verse 5 to 8 now. It says, suddenly a male goat came from the west across the surface of the whole earth without touching the ground. And the goat had a notable horn between his eyes. Therefore, the male goat grew very great. But when he became strong, the large horn was broken. Now, these verses are describing the first king of the Greek Empire. And we're talking about Alexander the Great. Alexander the Great was a great conqueror who conquered from the west through Turkey and all over the Middle East. Alexander the Great was the great Hun of Greece. He rose from Greece and he conquered the Middle East swiftly, without touching the ground. But he died untimely at the peak of his kingdom, at the peak of his strength, at 33 years. So Alexander the Great is the great conqueror and is the great Hun of Greece. Okay, so let's move on. And secondly, we're going to look at another notable king of Greece. The king of the old Greek Empire. And I'm talking about the last great king. So we've looked at the first great king of the old Greek Empire. And now we're going to look at the last great king of the old Greek Empire. And we see this in Daniel chapter 8 still. And in particular, I'm focusing on verses 9 to 11 now. It says, and out of one of them came a little horn, which grew exceedingly great. And it grew up to the host of heaven, and it cast down some of the host and some of the stars to the ground and trampled them. He even exalted himself as high as the prince of the host, and by him the daily sacrifices were taken away, and the place of his sanctuary was cast down. Now this is describing the career of Antiochus for Epiphanes. He was the little horn of Greece who grew exceedingly great. He was the king of the north. He reigned over the Seleucid Empire. And this man blasphemed God. In fact, he claimed to be God. Epiphanes means God manifest. He blasphemed God. He persecuted the saints of God, that is the Jews, and he desecrated the Jerusalem temple with an abomination of desolation. He was a blasphemous king. So yes, we're still looking at the old Greek Empire, and I want to take you to Daniel chapter 10, verse 20. And I read, then he said, do you know why I have come to you? And this is talking about the man clothed in white linen. He said, do you know why I have come to you? And now I must return to fight with the prince of Persia. And when I have gone forth, indeed, the prince of Greece will come. Now, the princes being discussed in this verse are not human. They are not human beings. They are fallen angels. They are principalities reigning from the heavenlies over kingdoms. So, the prince of Persia was the principality that ruled over the Persian kingdom. And the prince of Greece was the principality who ruled over the old Greek Empire. So the prince of Greece is the fallen angel that ruled over the old Greek Empire. Okay, I hope you are following the discussion. I hope you are enjoying it so far. So now we move on. And we go back to the book of Revelation, because Revelation chapter 17 gives us more detail about the beast from the sea. In particular, we look at verse 8 here. It says, the beast that you saw, that is the beast that has 7 heads and 10 horns, was and is not, and will ascend out of the bottomless pit and go to perdition. So the beast from the sea was. This means that the beast of the sea, from the sea has existed before. He has reigned on earth before. And is not means that during the time of John, Apostle John, the beast was no longer reigning on the earth. And in fact, actually, there's much more. During the time of Apostle John, the beast was in the bottomless pit, because he says he will ascend out of the bottomless pit during the great tribulation. And we see him ascending in Revelation chapter 9. So the beast from the sea has reigned on earth before. And this happened during the old Greek Empire. How do we know this? Because the old Greek Empire was the beast like a leopard. The old Greek Empire was the one that produced the blasphemous king who persecuted the saints and desecrated the Jerusalem temple. And all that is described in Daniel chapter 8 to 11. In particular, chapters 8 and chapter 11. So Apollyon, who is the angel of the bottomless pit that ascends in Revelation chapter 9, is the beast from the sea. We already established that. And because of the link to blasphemy and to the leopard, as described in Revelation 13, we can say clearly and confidently that Apollyon is also the blasphemous prince of Greece. The beast from the sea reigned before as the prince of Greece. And the name of that prince is Apollyon. Well, it's making better sense now. So I would just want to establish the connection, an important connection between Assyria and Greece. And there are many verses in the Bible that describe Assyria and connect the Assyria to the Antichrist. The Antichrist beast is also called the Assyrian. So I'm reading from Micah chapter 5 verse 6. It says, "They shall waste with the sword the land of Assyria and the land of Nimrod at its entrances. Thus he shall deliver us from the Assyrian when he comes into our land and when he treads within our borders." This is describing the future Antichrist beast, and is calling him an Assyrian. So what is the connection between Assyria and Greece? The old Greek Empire reigned over the land of Assyria, that is the Middle East. In particular, Antiochus IV Epiphanes, who was of the Seleucid dynasty, he was an ethnic Greek king who ruled over the land of Assyria from the nation of Syria. So the old Greek Empire reigned over the land of Assyria. And so, in this sense, the little horn, which is Antiochus Epiphanes in the first instance, and which is the Antichrist beast in the second instance, is a Greek Assyrian. The little horn is a Greek Assyrian. So now we're going to pull all these facts together in identifying the ethnicity of the beast. Firstly, the Antichrist conqueror, as described in Revelation chapter 6, verse 1 to 2, will certainly rise from Greece at the start of the tribulation and conquer the Middle East swiftly, without touching the ground, like Alexander the Great. And this is referring to the seventh kingdom of Revelation chapter 17, verse 10. The sixth kingdom is the Roman kingdom. The seventh kingdom is yet to come. And that seventh kingdom is the Antichrist conqueror who will rise from Greece at the start of the tribulation and conquer the Middle East swiftly. Now, it's important to note that the blasphemous king of Greece in the past, I'm talking about Antiochus IV Epiphanes, he was possessed. That's why he was blasphemous, and he was fierce, and he was terrible. He was possessed. By who? The prince of Greece, called Apollyon. Antiochus Epiphanes was possessed by Apollyon. And in the same way, at the middle of the tribulation, the Antichrist conqueror will be possessed. Because Apollyon rises from the bottomless pit towards the middle of the tribulation. And in the middle of the tribulation, it will possess the antichrist conqueror, and their combination, that is the possessed antichrist conqueror, will become the Greek antichrist beast. And this is referring to the 8th kingdom of Revelation chapter 17, verse 11. So the antichrist beast is the antichrist conqueror who rises from Greece, conquers the Middle East swiftly, and he will be possessed by Apollyon at the middle of the tribulation and continue as the beast for the remaining 3.5 years of the tribulation. The antichrist beast is an ethnic Greek who rises from Greece. I hope that is coming across to you in a clear way. The Bible establishes the ethnicity of the antichrist beast, and there is no need for speculation beyond what the Bible has said. So now let's move on and we look at the beast from the earth quickly. The beast from the earth. And to do this, we go back to Revelation chapter 13. In particular, we read verse 11. It says, "Then I saw another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, and spoke like a dragon." Now we established before that this beast is a deceptive beast that's seeking to misrepresent and infiltrate the church of Jesus Christ. The beast from the earth is the evil supernatural being that will rule directly over the false religious systems of this world during the Great Tribulation. And in order to establish the ethnic identity of this beast, we need to go back to Revelation. Look at Revelation chapter 17, because Revelation 13 talks about the beast from the earth, and Revelation 17 shows us the identity of this beast in terms of location, because it talks about Babylon. It said, "And on her forehead was a name written, Mystery, Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and of the abominations of the earth." Now, note again, the earth there is underlined, just like we have the earth underlined in Revelation 13:11. Babylon is the beast from the earth. And Babylon is a system of false religion, which is also known as spiritual harlotry. Now, it's important to note the connection between Babylon and Rome. Babylon is the mother harlot. The city of Babylon in the nation of Iraq is the cradle of civilization. And so Babylon, as the mother harlot, represents ancient civilization. And that civilization has moved on from the time of Nimrod in Babylon, the Tower of Babel, you remember that? That was the beginning of the spiritual harlotry. It was the Tower of Babel, which was established by Nimrod in Babylon. Babylon has moved on through the ages. Babylon has moved on and it showed itself up in Egypt, in the Egyptian Empire, and then in Assyria, and then in Babylon again, and then in Persia, and then in Greece, the Greek Empire, and finally, the final kingdom, according to Daniel chapter 2, is Rome. Rome is the daughter harlot, and Rome represents modern civilization. Rome is the daughter harlot, and it represents modern civilization. So we move on. We are trying to establish the ethnicity of the false prophet. Revelation 17 verse 18 says, "And the woman whom you saw is that great city which reigns over the kings of the earth." Again, notice the earth is underlined, just showing the connection to the beast from the earth. Rome is the reigning daughter of Babylon. Modern civilization, as we experience it today, is essentially Greco-Roman, whether in the political sphere or in the economic sphere or educational sphere or even religious. Modern civilization is essentially Greco-Roman. So, having identified that Rome is the great city which reigns over the kings of the earth today, and Rome is the daughter of Babylon, we can say that the Church of Rome is the harlot church. It has been infiltrated. It has been influenced. It has been compromised by idolatry. The Church of Rome is the harlot church. And this is also a church that has persecuted the true saints of God over the ages. The Bishop of Rome is the one who will be possessed by Jezebel, the spirit of deception and coercion. The Bishop of Rome will be possessed by Jezebel, the spirit of deception and coercion, to become the Roman false prophet of Revelation 13. So there you have it. The Antichrist beast is an ethnic Greek who will rise from the nation of Greece and conquer the Middle East swiftly at the start of the tribulation period. And the false prophet is the Bishop of Rome. He is a Roman who will rise from the city of Rome and lead the false religion during the tribulation period. Okay. Now, there are many more things you can find out in my new book. You can find out the chronology of the end times, how the events will progress, and you can see them matching perfectly with the order in which the book of Revelation was written. The book of Revelation was written in perfect chronological order, and there's no need to move things about. You'll find out in my new book how the name Apollyon converts to the number of the beast, 666, which is in Greek, Chi, Xi, Stigma, and you understand the meaning of this inscription in Greek. You will find out how the mark of the beast will be administered. You will find out the identity of the 24 judgment angels mentioned in the book of Revelation. You will find out the exact location of the lake of fire. You will find out the structure of the New Jerusalem and how it matches with that of the human body. And you will find out much more. 360 pages of insights and revelation. Yes, so I'd like to encourage you to order your copy of my book, of my books on Revelation and the End Times from Amazon. Order it today. You can order it as a print copy in paper, or you can order it as an electronic copy in Kindle. These books will really bless you. And there's lots of insight and revelation you will gain from them. I also like to invite you, to share these videos. These videos are available on YouTube and Facebook. I'd like to invite you to share them on your social networks. Share it with your friends. Spread the news. I'd like to also invite and encourage you to subscribe to my channel on YouTube. All you need to do is search for my name, Ben Awuseila, on YouTube, and you'll find my channel. Subscribe to my channel. If you have enjoyed this video, I would like to encourage you to like the video on YouTube and Facebook. And I would also like to encourage you to share the videos. One last thing to say is that if you have subscribed to my channel, don't forget to click the notification button, because that will ensure that you can get a prompt notice of when I upload new videos. Thank you so much for spending time with me today. It's always a pleasure to be with you. And I would like to say goodbye for now. And until you see me next time in my new video, God bless you. Bye.